What's up guys, welcome to another video. So in this video I'm going to be going over how to deal with Ferry. Now this is going to be a very long video. I have a lot of stuff to cover, but I'm going to be going in this order. I'm going to be going over the stuff you can punish, how to deal with her in neutral, how to deal with all her mix-up situations of like her various kind of whips, and then how to deal with her install. So the first thing I want to go over are her punishes. You're going to want to know what's safe and what's unsafe. So basically with Ferry's normals, all these far normals, these crazy long reaching normals, they are very much unsafe if she does it too close. So for example, if she does like far 5L like really close like this, she's actually like -7. So this is -7. So Jita's 2M could punish. Her far 5M is -9, so she's like around like this range or whatever, she can get punished. And definitely Ferry's far 5H, that is very punishable. That's -14 on block. So if she does it like really close like this, it's a very easy punish for you. Also important to note, her 2U, which is her sweep, you know, her godlike sweep that everybody hates, it's actually -7. So if they do it by itself, it is punishable. Now for Ferry's 2M, which is this move right here, this is very punishable. It's -10. It's not safe whatsoever. Now all of her regular whips like this one, EX whip or whatever, doesn't matter which one it is -8. So like if you block that really close, you can definitely get a punish. Just lab which move you can punish it with. Now obviously all of Ferry's DPs are punishable, like the EX one or whatever, but this one's kind of wonky to punish. Like her medium DP, it's kind of hard to, but like it is -11, so like if you do it from like this range, you're not really gonna be able to punish her. But if she does it like really close at you for some reason, you can get a punish. Alright, next thing, her dive kick. Her dive kick is unsafe if she does it high like that. So just to show you, I'm gonna record or doing stuff like that. You block it, easy punish. Even if you get hit, you get a punish. So whenever the dive kick hits you or you block it that high, it doesn't really matter, it's always a punish. It's only safe if she does it from like this range right here, like over here or whatever. So just to show you, from here you really can't get a punish. Now when it comes to some of her crazy whip stuff, it's very annoying to try to anti-air this. Like if she does this, you try to chase her down, she does bam, she just does that like medium attack or whatever. That will beat your air to air. She can do like this heavy thing, so if you try to run under her and anti-air, like look how far this goes down. So it's very difficult to anti-air. I would say the best way to deal with it, if you see her like whipping and going back or whatever, is just to run up and hit her with a DP or something, or maybe do like a preemptive 2H, because it is very difficult to like run under it and try to get a punish some other way with a regular anti-air. So I would recommend just to DP it. So now you're also going to see Ferries do this a lot, like they do normal into whip or whatever. Just so you know, if you read that, it is very unsafe. You can literally just roll through that, whether she does medium into it or light into it or whatever, you can always roll through the whip and get a punish. Now of course you can bait the roll, but I'll get into that when we get into the neutral part. But just know that you can punish it. Like if you know for sure they're gonna whip after a certain normal, you can always roll through it, and if you're close enough, you have a guaranteed punish. Now it's similar to her far 5H. Like this move is very slow, but if you make the read or you get a hit of their pattern or whatever and you roll through it, you can get a punish. Another thing Ferries love to do, they love to mix up between like doing their normal into whip, and sometimes they do normal into GG, and that can be pretty annoying as you can do that, because like if you try to roll forward, her GG will hit you at some ranges. So it is kind of a mix up between which two she's gonna do, but like if you're looking for it, some characters can punish GG. Now Jita could only do that at certain ranges, but like other characters like Cat and Gran can always punish it. Now I want to talk about some of her gaps with like this little whip move thing. So okay, a lot of Ferries would do this, and this is 100% safe. She does something like this into the light whip, that's a true block string, and you have to hold that. Now if the Ferry player decides to do something like this, if she does the medium version, she would do that because it has more pushback, but it actually has a big gap in between. So you could either DP that or honestly just mash any button in between. And I would always mash. If you see Ferry ever do her auto combo like that, I would always press buttons, because if she does the light version, it's a true block string, so you're not going to get hit. And if she does the medium version, then you'll hit her. So it's a win-win in that situation. So Ferry also has some gaps with her, like her light spinning attack or whatever. So if Ferry ever does in your face like the sweep into the spin thing, there is a gap. Not enough gap for you to press a button because you'll get hit, but enough of a gap to where you can DP, because it's not a true block string. And it's the same if she does like 2M into it or like 4-5M into it. Both have like little gaps in between, so if you're either gonna do something like that, you can definitely go for a DP. And honestly, if they try to sweep really close at you, I would always DP anyway, because a DP, at least Jita's DP is fast enough. Her DP will punish the sweep, and it will also punish Ferry if she tries to do the little spin thing to keep herself safe from the sweep, so it punishes both options. Now, one thing I want to mention about Ferry's reversal DP, it's actually not that good. They did nerf it and they made it, I believe, 11 frames. So basically what that means is you can do like frame traps with light attacks for most characters and her DP will not hit you. So I have her set to reversal DP, and I want to show you what I mean. So if I do frame traps like this, I'm able to block. If I do frame traps like that, I'll get hit in that particular one. But I'm able to do 2 5Ls, I'm able to do 2L in the 5L, and I'm able to do 2 2Ls. So a lot of characters with faster normals like Jita, Gran, and honestly most of the cast that are not like slow like Ferry's, because Ferry's is a 6-framer and most characters have like 5-frame moves. If you have like a 5-frame light attack, you can chain 2 together and you won't get punished by Ferry's EXDP, which is a good thing. I don't think she should have a DP anyway, but just know you have that option. So it makes it a little bit harder for her to reversal. It's not like a Gran or a Catalina DP where you try to frame trap like that, you're gonna get hit by a DP. You don't have to worry about that with Ferry. And of course, obviously, if she does EXDP, she's hella punishable. Just run up SSBA or whatever. And one thing I'll say about Ferry, she's very overwhelming and everything, but honestly, if you just make the right read and just super jump at the right time, you can get a full combo punish. Like if you know for sure Ferry's gonna press a button, like if you know she's gonna do 4-5H and you super jump right before it comes out, you're gonna punish. Same thing, honestly, with her 5-5M and her 2M. Those, they don't seem like they have a lot of recovery, but they actually do. There's a lot of time for you to jump in and actually punish them. They can legit get punished for pressing those buttons at the wrong time. And to be honest, when I was playing Ferry one time, all I did was press 4-5L. I just pressed this. That's all I did. And I got jumped in on and punished. So Ferry has a lot of recovery on her normals. I'm not saying they aren't crazy and really good, and it's very hard to jump in on a good Ferry, but if you get a read and you know for sure when they're gonna press a button, there's nothing wrong going in for a jump or just going for a Hail Mary empty jump. Now that can lead to mix-ups and whatnot, so you don't really want to always do that, but it is an option you have. It can work for you. Alright, so now I want to talk about her neutral. Her neutral is freaking annoying, obviously. So that's her main strength besides her mix-ups and 50-50s. It is very difficult to get around, and honestly, it involves you watching the Ferry player and trying to find their patterns and knowing what to do and how to counter it. Main thing I'll say, like I mentioned before, if you know she's gonna do like a normal into whip, you can roll through it and get a punish. And like I mentioned before, if she does GG, if you're close enough and depending which character you are, you can react to it to either at least get in or maybe get a punish if your character is blessed enough to. And then of course, if you read a big button like I mentioned before, then yes, you can go for a jump. But really, I would say the main way is definitely to watch their patterns, because most Ferry players will have little patterns in their buttons. Now, smart Ferry players, as soon as you punish one of their patterns, they're gonna stop doing it and do something else. Or at least every time you notice a pattern, you can definitely always get a knockdown with sweep or something like that, and at least get in and start your pressure, because even though Ferry has a DP, like I mentioned, is not that good if you pressure it correctly. So Ferry dodges the pressure, and once you bait her DP, then that's your chance to shine. Because when you get in on Ferry, you gotta make it count, because you don't want her getting started with her zoning, 50-50s, no, you don't want none of that. And honestly, one simple sweep on one of her normals is your way of getting in. So what do I mean by pattern? So Ferry players may do stuff like this, right? You notice they like to do 4-5M and they go straight into 2M. Or they like to do 2 2Ms back to back. Maybe they do like double sweep or whatever. Or maybe they like to do stuff like 2M into 4-5H or whatever. So stuff like that, you gotta look at their patterns and decide what kind of punish you want to do. So I'm gonna show you what you can do as Jita. So for example, I'm gonna have Ferry do 4-5M into 2M. So if I read her doing that and I know the 2M's coming, I can just hit her with a sweep and then bam, I'm in just like that. Now let's say the Ferry player wants to do 2M into 4-5H. And if I make the read and I know for sure she's gonna do that, I can either jump at her, get a punish, or I can roll forward and get a punish like that. And for the last example, let's say she does 2M into 4-5M. If I know she's gonna do that, I can crush her normal like this. So stuff like that you're gonna wanna lab with your character, and you really gotta pay attention to what the Ferry does. If you notice any kind of pattern like that where you know the next button they're gonna push, make sure you know how to punish it. Honestly, basically what you really want to know is just how to punish each one of her buttons. Now, of course, you have to read which one she does, but just remember, if you know she's going to do sweep or 2M, you can sweep it, and if you know she's going to do far 5H, you can roll through it. Honestly, you can crush it too as well if you want, and far 5M is better to crush it because rolling through it, you won't always get a punish for it. So that's basically what you're going to want to do. Now, like I said, a good Ferry player, they will change up their patterns, or maybe they'll just stop doing patterns altogether to try to be a lot more random. That's when it gets a lot more difficult, but if you get them scared to push buttons, that actually allows you to try to run up on them more. If let's say they do far 5M and they usually would press one of the other buttons that you actually showed that you're able to punish, they're going to be more reluctant to press buttons. And in that case, you could actually, run up a little bit. You block something, you run up a little bit, inch them to the corner little by little. That's in general what you want to do anyway. Because remember, blocking this, you're not going to get any damage from that. Like, she's not going to get any chip. The only way she's going to get chip if she does stuff like that. And if she does stuff like that into her whip, try to get chip, you're able to punish it with a roll. So what Ferry will try to do to walk you to the corner, to try to throw like their normal, throw GG or whatever. Now that can be kind of annoying, especially for a character like Jita. She can't really punish it. But your main goal though is to not block GG. If you can avoid it, avoid it. So like in this situation, right? She throws GG like that. Honestly, I would just walk back from it. She throws GG, I just take a step back just to get out of the range of it. Because with a character like Jita, I can't always react and punish it. Now if you play Gran and you're at this range, anytime you see Ferry throw GG, you have to get that punish. And that's something you actually gotta practice doing, because Ferry can do a bunch of things after her normal. She can do nothing, she can do spot dodge. Spot dodge is to bait you to do things. She can do GG, or she can do into the whip. Now at certain ranges, when Ferry's like at this range right here, if you try to roll thinking she's gonna whip, you will run into a close GG, and that's not good. You run into it, your head will get bopped by it, you're gonna get a little bit of a concussion, then she's gonna hit you with more normals, jail you into it, and then she can get a mix-up on you. And honestly, Ferry can bait your roll with a spot dodge and actually get a full mix-up punish on you. So let me show you how that looks. So that's why it's not a good option to roll all the time, because if Ferry spot dodges to make you try to react, and then you end up rolling, she can punish you with her normal, get a counter hit, get EX whip, and then there's a whole load of mix-up you have to deal with, which is really annoying. So now I'm gonna be completely honest, Ferry can do all those options, spot dodge, whip, GG or whatever. At least for me, it's not possible to react to every single option at once. You have to just focus on one option and react to that. Because if you think about it this way, like there's too much to react to. You can't just react and do all these different options. Like whip, you have to react with roll. GG, you have to react with either a punish, whatever your punish is, maybe run forward or whatever. Spot dodge, you have to just do nothing. It's very difficult in your mind to like think of 3 different options to do based on reactions. It's just way too much. But the best way is you just focus on one thing. If you don't want her pushing you to the corner, I would say worry about GG. As soon as you see that GG come out, do whatever you can do to punish it. Or if you can't punish it, take the opportunity to run forward. Because let's say Ferry's over here and tries to throw far GG. If you see that, you can just run forward. And even if she does a close GG, by the time you're running into it, you can kind of react and take a step back and you won't actually hit the GG. So you have some options if you're looking for it. Or you can do this, you can look for the whip. Now if you're looking for the whip and you go to spot dodge the whip, you're not always going to get a punish because you have to delay the roll because you're actually trying to react to it. So you may not always get a punish, but it will get you in a little bit. Or you can honestly also look for spot dodge. If you see spot dodge, Ferry's wasting frames doing a spot dodge, which gives you the opportunity to run forward a little bit. So there's a lot of these little things in neutral you gotta know just to try to approach Ferry little by little, try to whiff punish her normals, because once you get a good whiff punish, that's how you get in. So that's about it for a neutral. So let's talk about all her crazy mix-ups he gets. Alright, so Ferry's mix-ups. You messed up in neutral, you got hit by a whip, you're in her mix-up train. What the hell do you gotta do to get out of this? Well, at the end of the day, no matter what you do, you have to guess. You can't OS all options. You can OS a lot of things and a lot of different options, but you can't OS everything. But what I'm going to show you right now is, if you guess a certain thing, what is the best option for you to do? Because honestly, if you're a DP character, you never want to block. Like you never want to block. there's almost no point in blocking if you think about it. Because think of it this way, right? You're guessing, most cases, you're guessing low or overhead. Jita does not beat both those options. Instant overhead tends to beat her DP in most situations, but her DP will beat a low, and off of EX whip, she can forward roll to beat the instant overhead. So basically what I'm saying is, for all the stuff I go over, I'm trying to optimize my guesses. If I'm going to guess correctly, I want to get some kind of damage, the best possible punish. You don't just want to block, because if you block her mix-ups, okay, great, you block your mix-ups, you don't take damage, but guess what? She's still plus because you're blocking all those GG hits, and it's still her turn to do a little bit more pressure, go for a strike throw mix-up, or honestly, she can just back up and reset neutral. Now, one important note about GG, Ferry can hold any button and make GG take a lot longer to pop off, which means she can do a lot of insane mix-ups that I don't think she should really have access to, but she does have access to, which I hope gets nerfed in 13 days from the time of this recording. On August 24th, let's pray to the gods of Balad that they nerf Ferry. But anyway, she has tons of mix-ups because of the fact she can hold GG. So she has 3 different types of mix-ups based on whether or not she hits you with the light whip, she hits you with the medium whip, or she hits you with the EX whip. So I'm going to show you every single possible setup that I know from each of those situations and what to do in each situation. And you're going to notice there's like one or two options that beats pretty much everything except like one thing, and then there's a different option for that one thing. So instead of having to guess like 7 or 8 different things, you really only have to guess 2 things. Well, if you have a DP. If you don't have a DP, well, I'm sorry. So let's talk about her light version of her whip. So she can do it into grab. For this one, she has to hold GG, but she can get a full combo. I did mess up there, but let me just show you it's a full combo. Because the fact she can hold GG, she can do 2L into freaking grab. She can do this crap. She could also keep it simple and just go for a meaty. This is kind of a little frame trap because, you know, there's always a frame trap between 2L and 5L. She can go for that. If you press buttons, you get hit. She can go for like a big meaty off like a counter hit. Like if she knows you're going to push buttons, she can do like 5H or whatever, close 5H. She can do sweep into it as well, but that's pretty much like another meaty. Now this is where it gets kind of crazy, and it seems like a crazy 50-50, but it's actually not that bad once I break it down. But she can do this into 2L instant overhead, or she can do this into 2L sweep into it, or she can do 2L run up 2L again, and thus get the 50-50. So I don't think I'm missing anything off her light whip, but that's pretty much all the options she can do. So let's talk about all of them one by one. How do you deal with them? Now there's 2 OSs you can do to deal with most of these mix-ups. Now in this game, when you wake up from the floor, you have a couple frames of grab invincibility, which means if you press buttons, you will beat Ferry out of a grab. Now this actually gives rise to an OS to where you can block a meaty and jump out of a throw at the same time. Now if you've played Third Strike, you're going to know the exact OS I'm talking about. Now I didn't play Third Strike, but I know the same mechanic was in that game, because in that game you did have throw invincibility on your wake up. So this is basically how you would OS the grab option and like the meaty low option. So basically you would block for a second, you would block the low, and then you would immediately press jump. But you're just pressing up for a jump for a second. As soon as you press up, you immediately go back to blocking again, and then you'll be blocking low. And that would mean you would block the second 2L, because basically you're blocking 2L, you're jumping the throw attempt, and then you're blocking the second 2L. So that's how you deal with that one, but then there's another OS you can do at the exact same time. Remember how I was doing this? I was doing 2L into instant overhead, or 2L into sweep. So there's 2 ways you can beat that. You can either spot dodge the last hit of the overhead, which if you spot dodge the instant overhead, as she's coming down, you can get a full combo punish. And of course, you would also spot dodge the sweep. Now if you spot dodge the sweep, you're not really going to get a punish, but it will be your turn at least. Or the safest option will be the super jump back. Now if you super jump back, you're not going to get any kind of punish based on whatever Ferry does, but you will be safe in both options. The only way Ferry can stop the super jump, she literally has to make a read and do 2H, which from that distance she's not going to get all that much. Or she can just run up and chase you, maybe she can run up and do 2H and get a little combo or whatever, but that's a really hard read. Now the spot dodge is pretty much safe as well, and you're actually able to get a punish, but the way she can deal with that is she can do 2L, run up at you. If you go for a spot dodge, she can actually grab you. Because I forgot to mention, she can also do 2L grab. If she does 2L run up grab in the GG, that will beat spot dodge because you can't spot dodge a grab. So like she can do like stuff like this. and that would beat the spot dodge. But in general, fairies are usually going to go for the instant overhead or the instant low because that's a 50-50 they want to go for. Now if you really wanted to, you can also fuzzy guard Ferry. You can fuzzy guard between her doing the sweep or the instant overhead. So basically how you would do it, you block low first and then you block overhead. It's a certain timing, you just have to lab it. But like I said, I think it's better to not always go for blocking. It's better off you going for your best possible way to punish Ferry, which is either spot dodge if you know for sure they're going to overhead, or you could just super jump back and be completely safe and not risk messing up the fuzzy guard. And honestly, fuzzy guarding, it works, but it's not consistent enough. The reason being because Ferry can always do a delayed low or a delayed overhead, and that messes up your entire timing. So now I'm going to bring it all together. I'm going to record Ferry doing the light whip into GG into grab, and I'm going to be jumping over it. I'm going to record her doing the meaty. I'm going to be blocking the meaty and then jumping as I said, and then blocking the second 2L. And then if it comes to that, I'm going to have Ferry doing two other things. I'm going to have her do the instant overhead or the sweep after the double 2L and get a punish if she does the overhead or, you know, dodge the low attack. So basically, if you master both those OSs, she cannot really get much on you off that. Her grabs will always whiff, you always block her meaties, and then for the second part of the mix-up where she does the overhead or low, you're going to spot dodge and potentially get a punish. So that's how you deal with every single one of those options. But if the Ferry realizes you're doing that, which honestly I think is very unlikely to be honest, because most people don't even do that. But if they do realize that, the way they can beat that is with a delayed normal. Like if Ferry goes up and does a delayed close 5H, that will get a punish on you because that'll hit you during the time you're trying to jump. That's how she's able to beat that. However, if they were to do that, the way you would beat that is wake up buttons. And honestly, if you don't feel like learning all that, here's a very simple way to deal with it. If you think Ferry's gonna do anything else except bait your DP, just do a DP. Now this is of course if you're a DP character. If you're not a DP character, definitely you want to learn this OS. And I'd recommend that you learn it anyway, but just like a little lazy way out if you just want to get the quick fix. If you think they're going to press anything, any kind of pressure, go for a DP. If you think they're going to delay their buttons to bait a DP or anything like that, then you press buttons. It's honestly better if you do that. It's better if you just press buttons if you think they're going to grab or just bait a DP. And it's better just to DP if you're going to do anything else, which in a way still makes it a 50-50 because honestly, if she blocks your DP, she's gonna get a punish on you anyway. If she hits you while you're pressing buttons, she's gonna get damage anyway. It's better doing that than trying to block this whole mix-up or trying to tech a throw. And I'm gonna just tell you, never tech a throw. If you think Ferry's gonna throw you into GG, don't tech. You wanna know why you don't tech? She sees you teching, she's like, oh, I'm gonna run up, I'm gonna overhead, counter hit, combo with far 5H, oh my gosh, big damage, probably kicks you into GG and you eat all this damage because you tried to tech. Never tech in general, just don't tech in this game. If you think they're gonna throw you, press buttons. Or if you want to tech and do a delayed tech, now that's more of an offline thing, but you get the point. Never do a preemptive tech, even if you really think they're gonna grab. If you think they're gonna grab with this mix-up, you're better off doing a DP. Alright, well that's her light whip. Now if you thought her light whip is bad, you really don't want to get hit by her medium whip. Her medium whip is a freaking problem, because after her medium whip, she can combo into sweep. And of course she can do sweep into GG. Now you're a little bit closer to GG than you would be if she does the light whip, which gives her a lot more mix-ups. Okay, so it's a lot. So let me just show you all the different mix-ups she can do. So yeah, that was like 7 different things, so it gets kind of ridiculous. But just remember what I said earlier. You know what beats every single one of those options? DP. Yes, just do a DP. With this mix-up, I would honestly do it too. If you know for sure she's gonna go for some kind of mix-up, just do a DP, get your damage, and if they bait you, you guessed wrong, you gotta guess either way. And if you think they're scared of your DP, which if you're DPing a lot, they definitely would be, you know what you can do? I'm gonna wake up buttons. Oh, you blocked my button, I'm gonna go for a grab, then you start your pressure. Because think about it this way, if you make Ferry scared of their DP, then they're just gonna sit there and try to bait you. The moment they start baiting you, it becomes your turn. If you realize that and you start pressing buttons, then you can start your pressure, and that's what you wanna do with Ferry. So you can do the jump block OS against Ferry when she does the medium whip, but even though yeah you can OS the grab and you block the first 2L, you're still in the mix-up game because she can do so much. She can do instant overhead again, she can do 2-2Ls, she can do so much stuff, and because GG is so close you can't do any kind of spot dodge OS. So honestly, like I said before, I would recommend versus this particular mix-up, if you have a DP and you think they're gonna press something, you go for a DP. If you think they're gonna do nothing, delay their buttons, bait a DP or whatever, at that point, go on and push buttons. That's really your best option. Alright, the fun stuff. Let's talk about her EX whip. So her EX whip is where her strongest mix-ups comes in. That's when she gets the legit instant low, instant overhead. Because of this mix-up, she can do a double low, she can do instant overhead, she can do a low into an instant overhead. She can actually roll through you to get out of the corner. She can roll through you and get an instant low or an instant overhead because she can hold the GG and she's able to do that. So like I said before, if you're blessed with a good DP, if you think Ferry's gonna press something, you're gonna want a DP. And if you think he's gonna respect, you're gonna wanna push buttons. Now if you're a character like Jita or Gran, you're not gonna be able to DP the instant overhead. It should look something like this if you try. For a character like Jita or Gran, that's not gonna work, but to punish the instant overhead, you can roll forward. And of course, if I read she was gonna do a low or something like that, then I'd go for DP. But then that kind of sucks for Jita because she actually has to guess between 3 things when other characters only have to guess between 2 things. Because they have to guess overhead, low, or potential bait. Because if Ferry can do a spot dodge in your face, if you try to DP, it will whiff, and then the GG will hit you and she gets a big combo. And it's very risky to try to push a button if you think they're gonna wait, because if they do the overhead or the low, you're gonna lose to it. So the EX whip is definitely her best mix-up. She has the best options, it's more in her favor. So you really wanna avoid getting hit by EX whip at all costs. Don't throw unnecessary fireballs, anything like that. But like I always say, it's better not to go for a block, it's better to try to get your best kind of punish. Now you are able to fuzzy guard this, and the way you fuzzy guard this is you block low, high, low. But like I said, with fuzzy guards, once the Ferry realizes you fuzzy guard, they can delay it. But let me show you how the fuzzy guard looks, just so you know it. It is good to know because not all Ferry players know how to delay. But like I said, if you know for sure you're gonna go for instant overhead, you're gonna want to roll forward and get your punish, or if your character is able to get a DP punish. And if you know for sure they're gonna go for a low, or you know you're not really sure, if you're just hoping for the best, you might as well DP if you think they're gonna go low. Because you gotta guess either way, just take your guess that does damage. But anyway, let me show you how the fuzzy block thing is supposed to look. But of course, like I said, the main thing that'll beat that is the delayed overhead. But you know, that's a good option you have. Now, Ferry can also roll through you. That's why I recommend, if you're choosing to block, make sure you press the block button during her EX GG mix-ups. Now, the other GG mix-ups, don't really worry about it because there's a lot of other things you're going to be wanting to worry about, like all the OSs and all that kind of stuff. And she can't really roll through you there anyway into GG, so you don't have to worry about it. But with the EX one, you do. Now, I don't know if other characters can do this, but Jita can actually punish the roll with her DP. So Jita's DP beats both Ferry's roll during the pressure and the low option. And Jita can actually get a combo for doing her light DP if Ferry does a roll, and so can Gran. But let me show you how the combo looks for Jita. So I would say test it out with your character and see maybe if you can do something cool like that. But here's another thing you can think about. If you wake up buttons, like if you wake up 2L, that beats both the roll because you can't roll through a 2L, and that will also beat Ferry trying to bait you with a spot dodge or something like that. So that also covers 2 options. You want to think in your mind, like, what can I do to cover most of Ferry's options? So if you're a character like Catalina, your DP will take care of Ferry's low and overhead option. But that's basically it for our main setups. It's kind of crazy all the stuff you gotta do, but hey, it's Ferry. Until they nerf her, we gotta do all this stuff. But like I said, and what most of these things I'm trying to show you is, if you're gonna guess, you might as well make a guess that can get the most damage for you possible. So let's move on to her install, which is very much broken, but anyway, let's move on to her install. Alright, so the final most broken thing about Ferry that nobody likes is install. Install changes the entire game. Ferry is much more powerful to install. She has all these crazy mix-ups and setups. It really causes problems. Now let me tell you, what I was mentioning before, when she has install, you have to worry about. When it comes to DP, like I said, you know, if you think Ferry's gonna push a button, you're gonna want to DP. Well, when Ferry has install, you have to worry about it a little bit more, because if Ferry doesn't install has no recovery. It's basically instant. So if Ferry does EX whip and puts you right here, and then she does install, by the time she does install, she can visibly see your DP, and then she can react with spot dodge and get a full combo punish on you. So if she has install, it's not always a good idea to DP right away. It's better to DP after she activates install, because after she activates install, she's gonna go for either the low overhead mix or again try to bait. And at that point, make it a 50-50 guess whether or not you're gonna DP and she has to bait you, or whether you push buttons thinking she might bait your DP and then make it your turn again. But the point is, if you know the Ferry player you're going against likes to use install, don't just DP right away after EX whip, because if they do a time stop with install, it's a guaranteed punish for them. And the only other real thing I can tell you is when she's in install, if you guess correctly and block the overhead, Ferries like to do stuff like this, like overhead into dive kick or whatever, because that will combo on you if it hits you while you're crouching or whatever. But there's actually a gap in that, so you can either do 2 things. You can either DP or super through it. And when it comes to install, that's pretty much all I can tell you. It's kind of broken. You kind of gotta guess. That's all you can really do. And like I said, if you think they're gonna press something, just go for a DP. It's better going for a DP than trying to guess a 50-50 that's almost impossible to block. But if you are a god and you block the instant overhead, just know you can get a punish every single time. If you have a super that goes up, probably Catalina's can do it too. I know Zoe's can do it. Thank you Diaphone for showing me that, by the way, in that tournament. Or of course you can DP. So yeah, that's about it. But here are just some more tips I want to give just in general when you're fighting Ferry. Just be patient. Don't take unnecessary damage. Don't do things for no reason. If you're in a situation where you have to block GG, like in the neutral or whatever, just block GG, take the chip. You don't want to eat big combo damage into another reset, into another GG. You don't want none of that. If she has whip available, do not throw a fireball unless you have like a really fast fireball like Matera, or you're like full screen. Because EX whip will grab you, will pull you in, will get you in mix-ups. And yeah, you can fight out of mix-ups with the tips that I showed you, but you don't really want to be in a situation. If you can avoid the situation, it's better. And one thing I want to say, never ever let Ferry do a 2U in your face into GG. You can always punish that. Like if she's this close and they're trying to do stuff like that, just be mentally ready for GG, like I said, and react to it. Even Jita can punish this. She can do like EX Rekka or whatever, so do not let her do it. I mentioned this before, if she does like EX Whip or whatever, and you're choosing to block for whatever reason, which you know, there is some legit reasons if installs involved, just remember, press the block button and go for the fuzzy guard. That's the best option to deal with it. And remember, block button, block button, block button. This should never mix you up. Now, if she does this into that, okay, fine. But the roll itself should never punish you. Just remember that. Use the block button when you're under an EX GG. And another thing, don't jump at Ferry when she has a GG out. I did mention before, it's okay to jump at Ferry from time to time if you think they're gonna push a button or, you know, a big heavy button or whatever. But if she has GG on the field, you do not want to jump. And I did mention this before, but you might have forgotten that she can hold GG. She can decide how long it takes to explode. Of course, there's a certain limit. She can't hold it forever, but she can hold it for a certain amount of time. So basically, she can throw GG, charge GG, like hold it, and bait you to jump. She can anti-air you, hit you into GG, and get a full combo and possibly a reset if she decides to spend EX whip. So if there's a GG out on the field, never, ever, ever jump at Ferry. If there's nothing on the field, you can jump at Ferry, but it's still unsafe because like if you try to jump at her, she can hit you with her 2U and she can combo 2U into a whip. Now sometimes depending on the jump arc, the whip will miss or whatever, but sometimes it won't miss. It depends. It's kind of like a luck of a draw, and you don't really want to be making those bets all the time because whether she hits you with the light whip or the EX whip after the anti-air, you're in mix-up city. There's ways to deal with it like I showed you, but those take a lot of execution, and for everything you do, there's a way to beat it. And in general, just be chill, remember what I said, look for patterns, try to get it on neutral. When you get your pressure, try to bait those DPs, try to do your pressure correctly so the DP won't hit you. And that's all I gotta say, good luck my friend. Well, anyway guys, that's it for the video today. If you guys enjoyed, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, follow me on Twitch, and I'll see you guys next time.